Today we're going to take a look at the 6 traits of writing. In 1984, there were a group of teachers in Beaverton, Oregon, who set out on a mission to figure out what makes writing good quality. And these teachers reviewed hundreds of students' papers, ranging from grades 3rd through 12th grade. In the end, all 17 teachers came up with the same 6 traits. The interesting thing was, they didn't decide ahead of time, we're going to limit it to 6 traits, or have any kind of structure. It was just an open-ended exploration of student writing. And ironically, all 17 of them came up with these same 6 qualities or traits. And these are not something that can be seen as a formula for good writing. They are traits. They're keys to making writing good. Here is just a quick little graphic organizer to look at the 6 different traits: ideas, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, and conventions. Now, over time, a 7th one was added. So a lot of times you'll see it described as 6 traits plus 1. And that one that was added was presentation. So let's take a look now a little more closely at each of these. The first one is the ideas. This is the message behind the writing, the heart and the soul of good writing. If you don't have a good idea, it's not going to be a quality piece. This is the writer's main message or storyline. All the details that support or expand the message or the story are part of this ideas category. It includes the details, what sometimes makes pictures or movies kind of play in the reader's mind. And detail is a vital ingredient in the writing. It supports the ideas, it guides the organizational flow, and bolsters voice. Organization is the design. This is the structure of the writing piece. It's the roadmap for the reader. So it could vary depending on the genre, but it also is very similar. So even a mystery story or a recipe is going to follow a same kind of a roadmap where you kind of introduce and then you develop and then you conclude, whether you're telling, as I said, a mystery story or you're giving someone directions for a recipe. As a piece of the organization, it's vital to have a good lead. You want to capture your reader, draw them into the story by having a good, solid opening. And at the end of this presentation, we're going to take a look at leads a little more specifically. Organization also includes the internal structure. So looking for a pattern that fits the writing, the structure that makes it cohesive, makes it have a good flow. And then finally, a good conclusion. And this can be the most important element to the organization. How many of us have read a book or watched a movie before, and when it gets to the end, we're left disappointed because we don't like how the reader or the director ended the story. So it's very important that your reader walks away feeling satisfied. Now, keep in mind that being satisfied could mean, it could be a sad ending, but it's just kind of a resolution to the story. It's a conclusion that leaves you walking away feeling closure to the piece. So it doesn't necessarily that you have to always leave the reader happy, but that they feel, as I said, things have come to an end and have been closed. A surprise ending can often be the best type of ending, but they can be really challenging to do because it can often leave your reader frustrated. Word choice. This is the phrasing, knowing the right word to use at the right time. It can bring clarity. It can also evoke emotions, mood, likes, and dislikes. So word choice can be really a powerful tool. So for example, if I'm writing a story and I said that I ran up the stairs to get my shoes versus I dashed up the stairs to get my shoes. So the word dashed just puts a different picture in the reader's mind. It makes it, it's more powerful, so you can really picture that happening. Voice, this is the fingerprints on the page. This is where the author really gets to show their personality. The voice separates writing from writing that is read from writing that is not read. It's the quality that keeps the reader tuned in. And when you have a piece that has a good voice, you feel as if you know the writer and can connect to the writer. There's certain authors out there that really, they have a voice, and a lot of times you'll open up one of their books and begin reading it, and you don't even have to know you don't have to see the name on the front cover, but just by reading the book, you often know who it is that's written it based on the voice that's portrayed through the writing. Conventions and presentation. This is preparing it to be published. This is all about the packaging, getting it ready to be shared so that it's easy and convenient, more efficient for your reader to read. And there's two parts to publishing. The first one is the conventions. This is the spelling, the punctuation, capitalization, grammar and usage, indenting, things that just kind of follow a certain format. And then there's the presentation. This includes visual features like font size or type, bullets, illustrations, graphic, using color, arrangement of words and pictures on the page. And you'll find this a lot in children's books, that they really, really capitalize on the use of presentation to draw in their reader. Lots of them, you might find a text that has the words written, maybe specific words written in a fancier way, or bigger, bolder words on a page that really draw your eye to that component. Or again, just the graphics, the illustrations that really help bring the story to life. Now this page shows us a correlation between the 6 traits of writing and the writing process. So if you start in the middle there, you see the ideas as a piece of the pre-writing. Then when you move to the drafting piece, this is where you get into the organizing of the piece. Sharing and revising, this includes ideas, organization, voice, word choice, and fluency. Then in the editing phase, you've got the conventions, and then finally the publishing stage is when you look really at the presentation. So taking a look at this, you're able to see how you can incorporate the 6 traits of writing very conveniently into the writing process. So let's take a look now at leads. Again, this is the way that you're going to hook your reader and draw them into your piece. This is a really crucial element to teach children when you're working on the craft of writing. And it can be a very easy thing to do through your modeled writing by focusing on specific leads, by bringing in those mentor texts that have great examples of different types of leads, and by teaching children to go back and revise the work that they've done to make their lead more powerful and hook their reader. So here are a few different types of leads that you can teach your students. The first is to use a question. First, start it using first person. The use of dialogue. Open it up with some form of action. Begin with a startling or astonishing fact. A snapshot, or setting the scene, creating a picture in your reader's mind. A giveaway lead, where you tell them the end in the beginning. Or an arresting sentence. We're going to take a look at some different examples, and I'm going to read one and then give you a minute to allow you to think of which one you think this lead might be, which type of lead it might be. So here's the first one. The only person left alive on the island was a baby girl. This is from the Birch Bark House. I'll read it again. The only person left alive on the island was a baby girl. So this one could be an arresting sentence. Could also be a giveaway lead. It could also create a picture in your mind. You wouldn't think you would have to leave Chicago to see a dead body. This is from A Long Way from Chicago. Okay, and that one is an example of an arresting sentence. Mama said we gotta go, that's why. From Stealing Freedom. That opens with dialogue. Baroom, 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 brippity, brippity, brippity. Good. His dad had the pickup going. He could get up now. From Bridge to Terabithia. Okay, that one would begin with action or onomatopoeia. Around 5 o'clock a.m. on a warm Sunday morning in October 1953, my Aunt Belle left her bed and vanished from the face of the earth. So this one, think for a minute. Okay. That could be a startling or astonishing fact. Let's see. Where's Papa going with that axe? Said Fern to her mother as they were setting the table for breakfast. Okay, this is dialogue. Okay, so there's so many different styles that you can use to open up a piece of writing. And what I would suggest is if you're working with young children, like kindergarten, you focus on maybe one type of lead at a time and really use that strategy several times in your modeled writing to help them become familiar with that type before, you're not going to want to teach all 8 or 9 of these, and there's more too, not just these that I've listed here, but you're not going to want to teach them all at once to a young child, but you're going to explore maybe one type, and then the next time maybe try it again, then you'll try introducing another one, but go back to using the other one again and again to kind of a cyclical kind of a process. I know that in seeing my son when he started kindergarten and seeing his work, his teacher had really taught the use of question to open a story because I could see it in his writing. So what you model for them, they will begin to see that in their writing and how they can utilize it based on watching you do it in yours. So I'm sure she didn't force him to use questions, but just by her doing it in her writing, it gave him the idea that he could do that as well. Again, using those mentor texts. And so when you're focusing on maybe one type of lead, you bring in a bunch of books that use that type so that they can be reading those books and seeing how different authors are using that lead structure in their writing. When you're working with older children, you might be able to introduce a few at a time. You can even maybe 2nd and 3rd grade, just have an exploratory time where you set out tubs and tubs of books and let the children go through and just explore the different books and give them a bunch of Post-it notes and let them categorize or, put Post-it notes on the ones that are starting one way, maybe these all start with first person, these here use action. and allow them to see different types that they could use in their writing by exploring several different strategies. The older ones, you don't have to take it quite as slow. And I know one of the lessons that I used to teach was from a book. I think it was titled The 25 Mini Lessons of Writing or something like that. And I do believe I've seen it in your No More I'm Done book as well, something similar. But E.B. White, when she wrote Charlotte's Web, or when he wrote Charlotte's Web, had several different examples and played around with several different ways to start the story. And so all of those are listed in this little mini lesson that I used to do. And it was really interesting and neat for the children to see that writers don't just start with the perfect way to open their story, that a lot of times they really struggle with how to best start it. And so they were able to kind of think, read through each of the different ones that the author tried and figure out which one that they think was best. Because there were several good ways to open the story, but in the end, the author ended up going with, "Where's Papa going with that axe?" And so, I'm sure there's other examples out there similar to that from other authors who can, share their struggles and experiences with figuring out the best way, because that hook really is important. It's really crucial that your students realize if you don't grab them in the beginning, then a lot of times readers will close the book and never go back to it. So teaching them that having a strong opening hook is going to be a crucial piece to having a successful story. So what we're going to do from here is move into a discussion this week where you are going to select 3 or more of your favorite books and look through them and try to identify the qualities that really jump out at you. What is it that you notice, some of the strengths in these books, and what does that tell you about why you are drawn to certain types of literature? What 6 traits do you see in these books? What types of leads do you see? Presentation, just all kinds of things. The word usage, the ideas. What is it that really makes these books some of your favorites? And we're going to focus on children's books this week because hopefully this will help you to get a list of books that you can then use as quality mentor text in your classroom in the future.